Well, I think with anything, like you guys see, retiring from the NFL and figuring out what's next, coaching, it keeps coming around where it's so important of who you surround yourself with. And I recognize here in town, you two play a major impact on my life and pushing us for success. Samir and I went to school at Toledo, University of Toledo. He was a senior when I was a freshman. So he's a defensive guy. I'm playing scout team quarterback against this big mofo that, number one defense in the MAC. We go on and win the MAC championship that year. But every day I'm playing scout team quarterback against Samir. And you realize as we're talking about like our pack or your circle, who helps and pushes you. And I just remember those moments of like you and Tom Ward and you guys, like the tenacity you play with, your work ethic, your mindset. And it helped me as a freshman being like, wow, this is what major college football is all about. Like this is my level of focus, intensity has to match his or even more so. And I was just a dumb freshman. Like I didn't know the playbook. I didn't know how to do, you know what I mean? So I just think of like our time together, how much that helped. Because then it's funny because now I'm the one where you guys are long gone. Now I'm a senior or a junior. We win the MAC championship. So like how it keeps getting passed down.
Set the precedent. You set the precedence. And the thing is about that, when you talk about the tenacity and it has so much to do with confidence and we were a confident defense and we were a confident team, as you know, because we took down some giants that we beat. And that comes, I believe, confidence comes, and this goes for, I don't care for training, I don't care if it's in business or in life and wherever. Confidence comes when you put in the work. So you put in the work, and then you give yourself basically the right to be confident, right? So that's the way I look at it. So like, the confidence isn't just, or else it's fake. Or else some guys have this big bravado of like, they act confident and stuff like that, but they didn't really put the work in. So it's like a glass ceiling.
But you're saying like natural confidence comes from you putting in the work day in and day out.
Yeah.
And naturally that just, because you have a son now, elite, sophomore at Central quarterback, and it's cool to see now, look, I've worked with him in the past and you and I, how close we are as, families. And to see him grow, now all of a sudden you're a defensive guy trying to kill me, quarterbacks. Now you got a high maintenance quarterback yourself, like we all are.
No, and he's a great example of it too. I mean, people look at he's advanced for 15, but he's been at it since he's so young. And my uncle just told me the other day when he was watching a video of his, and he's like, man, he's just it's so effortless, it's smooth. And I'm just like, it looks so easy, but that's a lot. That's a lot of hard work and focus and dedication at a young age. And then now 4 or 5 years later, you're starting to see the fruit of it. And again, if he can keep that going in life, so that's what I've been trying to instill in him is that work ethic that you're doing now, it's going to transfer for you. So you're going to be a leader in industry, whatever you do, because you understand that if you want to beat somebody on the boardroom, if you want to beat somebody, in the operating table or whatever field he goes into, it's just okay, well, I'll get here earlier than everybody. I'll study more. I'll read more. I'll work later. I'll stay up at night reading. And then after a few years, you've built that confidence to where now you just walk around and exude confidence.
Well, it's cool all our paths, because then Nick, your path of football and success, just talk about your story, because I think it's awesome, man. I want to say you just how resilient you are to chase your dream, and your dream in playing professionally is a little different than mine and Samir's. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I came from, obviously played college football at the Division III level. Wanted to keep playing after college. Had the opportunity to go to Europe and play overseas. Played in Italy and Austria. And you guys are kind of mentioning what hard work and what it means and effort, right? Effort kind of leads to good things, and I just wanted to keep playing. So it was like every opportunity I had to put effort into becoming a better player, learning more about the game, all that sort of stuff. There's a quote, and we use it a lot at Guide, and we talk about it as a company, and I think it translates to every aspect of life, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whatever it is. You can't control all the different things that are happening around you, but you can control your effort. And Winston Churchill, during probably what was the craziest time in world history. His quote was, continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. And I try to, you guys embody that. I mean, I've met both you guys now, and we have the same haircut. I try to, unfortunately, these guys are.
He tries to be Gradkowski around town and sign autographs.
Funny story, true story. I get confused a lot for Bruce, and one day a guy got upset with me because I was being honest. I was like, I'm not Bruce. I don't feel right signing an autograph. And he was like, sure, Bruce, sure. I was like, oh boy, I guess I better.
You should have signed it, making me look bad.
That's what I know. I'm giving a bad reputation for him here by not signing it. But he did say, he goes, I just don't remember you being so attractive, Bruce. But no, it's that effort idea of building confidence and building, the belief in yourself. But because you don't know how things are going to turn out. I mean, life has lefts and rights and ups and downs and everything else. And the only thing you can really control is how much effort you give, and eventually that's going to pay off.
Well, and I love what you say, because studying this, my life, but really studying this the last few years on what it takes to be successful. I took a few life coaching classes, a Tony Robbins course, him and Chloe Madanis, a psychologist. I'm taking these courses to learn how our minds work, but also to bring it back to, okay, my career path, because we've all played, and we've all played at different levels, and football has come to an end for all of us at different times. And what I have found, though, is when it ends, it's tough, because it's like, what's next? I talked to a high school buddy. It was tough for him after high school. Oh, yeah. It's tough after college. So it doesn't matter when you're, and it's not just football, it's sports in general, because we work since we were kids on this sport and working hard, and the dedication, the discipline, the teamwork, and being collectively together, working towards something, and then it ends, and you're sitting there like, now what? So I feel like the Alpha 5 method, I built a course on, okay, are you stuck in life? Well, here's how to get on your path. Here's how to refocus. Here's how to, what's the story you're telling yourself? You know what I mean? What is your why? And I love this conversation, because your why, my buddy gives me a hard time. He's like, well, Bruce, your why is different. You play in the NFL. You have money, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but that's the point. What is your why? It's different for all of us. Someone's why could be like, I need to make money, or I want to be a millionaire, and their why is money. Some could be, my why is family. I'm content in my house, having a stable job, health insurance. That's my why. I'm good. Others are like, my why is, I need to be a top executive. I need to be a CEO, and, to get that, be solidified inside or whatnot. But I always think about that, what's your why? But, just kind of come back to the course is, it starts with the Alpha 5. Alpha stands for aspire. That's the first step. What is your vision? What's your goal? What are you focused on? What do you want? That's number one. Then you got to lock in. That's number two. Then we got the playbook. So now's the playbook. Okay, you got to build the right habits. You got to be resilient. And then you have heart and hustle. Now it's, okay, you're going to face roadblock. I don't care what you do, and you guys have faced it. You building a mega real estate company, the adversity you hit. People think, when I started a restaurant, a hospice company, you're going to hit that roadblock. You with your construction company. People think it just is always smooth, but you made a great point about consistency. And I feel like when we start businesses, or you start on that adventure, or you start chasing your dream or your goal, you have to know before you start, do you want this bad enough that when that adversity strikes, you're going to work hard to overcome it and be resilient?
Yeah. And, the other thing you try not to do, but it's the hardest thing with what you're saying is, but if you have those principles that you lay out in the Alpha 5 method, it's, I'm going to stick to these, and I'm not going to start thinking about outcomes. And you mentioned it before, Samir, when we were talking. It's be present. That was the hardest thing for me. It was the hardest thing in football. Is okay, just lock yourself in and be present in the moment, and stop thinking about what you think you're capable of or what you think your potential is, and start being present and applying these principles so that you're grounded and thinking about the next rep, the next step, instead of 5 years down the road.
Well, so talk about your company, but when football ends for you, how did you know what was next?
Oh, it took me time, man. It was a little bit of a dark period, man. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to transition, what I wanted to do. I was in the same thing. I went and played in arena football for a year, and I was just like, I didn't want to give it up. And then I was just like, it took me a while, and it took me. It was hard mentally when you know it's done. And I had probably dreams for the next 10 years after I was done playing every night, same reoccurring dreams. And it was always being in that locker room, the camaraderie, being on the bus, being at the hotel nights before the game. It was never like playing the game of football. It was always like being around it, being the guys that we played with, brotherhoods that we built. And then when that's all gone, it's tough to, where does it go from here? And then just going back to the consistency part and dealing with adversity, probably took me until I got into my 40s, and where I actually had some life adversity, and I had some failures in business, and I had some things that had happened to me to where I was just like, I had to really take a step back and reorganize and just kind of really prioritize my goals and what I wanted to do, and then never take anything for granted again, and then just come out. And the hardest thing to do is just to be present. Don't think about the future. Don't think about. And I catch myself till this morning. I was doing it. Literally,
Right.
Literally every day. But at least now I recognize that it's there, and I'm like, you're doing it again. Stop thinking about the future. You still got 6 months left or 5 months left in this year, and then work backwards from that, and then how many weeks, and then how many days, and then today. What am I going to do today? And then tomorrow is the same thing. Is what am I going to do tomorrow? But I'm in the present, and then that allows you to just handle what you got to handle that day. Break it down into small tasks. Make to-do lists. Check stuff off your list. I mean, being thorough and following through all the way to completion on all these little small tasks is the recipe to the long-term success. You can't just look at these big, huge, I want to, make this money, and I want to live in this house and do all this stuff, and it seems so big and daunting, but when you work backwards from it, break it into small tasks, and then every day you live that, and you stay focused on it. And the other thing is, great quote that I heard a few times recently, and I love sharing this with my son, but comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, you start comparing yourself to others, other companies, other people in your industry, and then it's like, well, they're doing this. Maybe we should be doing it. No. Stay in your lane. Focus on yourself. Control the controllables, like you always say, Bruce. Like whatever's in your control that. Everything outside of your control, leave that for a higher power to figure out.
Well, and I think, to your point, number one, you had great self-awareness in that moment. Like at one point you had to be like, okay, I need to refocus. I need to reorganize my thoughts. What are now my goals? So for that. And then you bring up that about sometimes our goals feel so daunting and so big, man, how am I going to achieve that? But if you work backwards, because people have asked me, okay, how do you build motivation? How do you stay motivated? Well, a lot of times, like us three, I'm sure none of us woke up like, let's go work out. Yes. But yeah. but you build the habits. But you build the habit. I feel like when you work backwards, if you set the right habits and build the right habits, it's like clockwork. Like we woke up today, it's like, yeah, it's Tuesday. We got our workout. It wasn't like a question if you're going or not. It's just that's what you do.
Yeah, you build your day around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, this is and then being around, like you said, you start out by saying surrounding yourself by the right people. Like this group that we have, and ever since Nick introduced me to this and brought me in on this, it's like it's camaraderie. It's more back at being in that locker room. It's like accountability. It's like, shit, I don't feel like going today. My legs are sore, but I know this maniac's gonna be there going all out. So I want to, I can't let him do it by himself. I got to try to be there with him. And so being with the right people, it helps you to hold yourself accountable. Not comparison, because he always kicks my ass. I don't compare myself to him in the workout, but again, just being in proximity with it and pushing myself to the best that I can do. I feel good about it. It doesn't matter how many reps I got or what I completed in that time. I feel good about it because I know what I focused on myself.
Well, and I think that's talking about your pack, and I was talking about this last week a little bit. I was just on vacation with Lance Moore, Trinity Dawson, Jason, and I said, those are my guys. Like, they helped me through college. They help me now in life. And you have to have surrounded by the right guys. And you just made a point. It's not like we're here competing, but we're never envious or jealous of one another's success.
Yeah.
You have your guys back. If you do well, it's like, hell yeah. But it also makes me be like, wow, that's possible. Like Lance Moore. Lance was the first one out of like my core friend that went to the NFL, and it was like, he made it possible. So now I got drafted. Now I see Lance, and Lance made it possible. And it's like, cool, he did it. I could do it. And you push one another, but it's also, you bring up that quote about the thief. The comparison is the thief of all joy, and it's absolutely correct. But if you surround yourself with the right pack that they'll give you the honest truth when you need it, they'll encourage you and support you at times, and just an ear to listen to. But you also know it comes from a genuine place, and it's not like, man, if I succeed, or like, that's why we're having this conversation, because I feel like even off camera and all that, we could talk about anything, and you're not gonna judge me on where I'm at in life or the struggles I'm having. Same thing with you, because it's real. You talk about when football ends, man, it's depression. Yeah. It strikes, it hits. You go in a dark place. How do you get yourself out of that? And Tony Robbins has a great quote that he always talks about is motion is emotion. Like you got to move. You got to change your state. You change your physiology, and that changes your emotions. And sometimes we get locked down. I go through it. I'll be sitting there, and the wheels are spinning, and you're going down but I don't. What about this? What about that? What do I do next? What about this? And it's like, hold on, whoa. Even hey, Roma, let's go catch football. Roma, let's go shoot basketball. Hey, let me go outside. Let me go for a run. Let me go for a walk. And just moving to get out of that funk that you're in that moment.
And then another thing a word that comes out, and it's all part of what you guys are saying too, is humility, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I think that both you guys successful in what you're doing, have great, athletic resumes for what you've accomplished in the past, but just the humility of, let me go try something new. A lot of people won't do that. A lot of people, and that's drew me to you guys from day one. It's like, okay, these guys have achieved a lot. And I mean, you're NFL quarterback for 9-10 seasons, is that right?
11
seasons. Jeez, 11. And I was like, hey, you want to work? Yeah, I'll come work out. Okay. And doesn't matter how we do, it's just like you guys said, you come in and you feel great.
Nick's still trying to run sprints every week. I'm like, bro, I haven't sprinted in years.
He hasn't said yes to that.
Yeah. Talk about business though, because I admire your kind of consistency, your patience. You're very genuine. And a lot of times when you do business with people, you could tell they got an ulterior motive, or it's about what's in it for them. And I never get that from you. And through the years, us talking, us looking at deals, just kind of talk about business in general. You own a company now, you're building this real estate. Just talk about business, what you think it takes to be successful.
And well, thank you for that. And I think that goes back to, and this might be a Lebanese thing, but it goes back to, with Samir being Lebanese, but it goes back to my dad. I had the opportunity to work with my dad for 11 years and obviously grew up around my dad. My dad loved people. And one of the things that he always talked about, he cared so much about taking care of his clients, taking care of his tenants, and just caring about to a big degree. And I think that's a part of him that I kind of carry with me now is, if the people that I work with, if they're not successful, then it's not going to make me successful. So how do we win together on these things? It goes back to sports too, right? How do we win together? Just like today's workout. We're just winning together, is getting through it. And there were times, this is the nature of CrossFit, what we did today. He puts these workouts together that when you look at it, thinking ahead, when you look at it first, you're like, how am I going to get to the end of that? But I'm looking at you guys, and you're getting easy through the deadlifts, even though you're doing more, and you're doing the overhead stuff more. And I'm like, all right, I want to stop now, but these guys aren't stopping, so I'm going to keep. Well,
we're chasing you, so.
I want to mention something back about what you said, and I'm just going to talk about him specifically, not to make this too specific, but what I love about what I've seen out of Nick in terms of the closer I've gotten to him, and you see a lot of successful people, and They start owning about, showing his real estate portfolio and everything else. Talk about humility. He's the most humble guy maybe that I've ever met. And that success and that humility only draws you closer to it. And for me, we've done quite a bit of business so far together. And at first I was like, when I met him, I was like, this can't be real. You know what I mean? There's not too many, this is a unicorn. That somebody that successful has gotten to that, where he's at. But he's just like, I could talk to him about anything. He's so humble, he's so down to earth. Well, I'm like, once we start doing business, then money starts exchanging. And I'm like, all right, that's usually when you see like the real, no, just like how their real personality is, because now you got funds exchanging. And I swear it was even more of who his personality is. So he's built a company, an organization in the shadow of his personality, which is in the shadow of his father's teachings. Okay, and I learned that we spent some time talking about it, and I learned that about him, and those values that were passed on to him through his father of, you don't have to eat every crumb at the table. Like, there's got to be food. You want to sit at a table where everybody can eat, and then there's enough for everybody to eat. So like, leave some meat on the bone on these deals, so that these people that come along with you can also do right and be successful. And it's just a great approach to have. I mean, and I've tried to, take it into my industry and make sure that I'm taking care of my people good, and I'm bringing them along with me. And then you start to build this team, and then it just becomes a really powerful thing. It becomes a snowball effect.
Sure.
And so, like with Nick in business and my partners, we've talked about this. Is like, really, and I'm not trying to like pat him on the back too much, but it's really a unicorn in the business world where you see that person of that success, and then, but at the same time, the humility and hey, listen, I could be successful, but I can also leave some crumbs on the table. Not crumbs, but like, everybody's sitting. We all got full plates.
It's
basically
a win-win for everyone.
We got a win-win, and the more successful, Samir is with his company, is only going to make me more successful, because now he's able to come in and help me out more, and we help each other out, and we just keep building and building and building. So that I just had to say about Nick, because he's too humble to even say it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the truth.
That's so good, but I also think, like, because you and I talk about the stuff we listen to, and I listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza a lot. I listen to Tony Robbins, Donald Miller. Like, these are people that I want to give our audience a chance to go and listen to their stuff. Because look, this podcast, this information is to help people on their path. This is not a money-making deal I'm trying to do to just bring it. It's to help, but the stuff I listen to, and talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza, was just the gratitude and thankfulness you feel in your heart. That is what attracts more. Your humbleness, you wanting Samir and his company to succeed is only going to bring more to the table for you, but it comes in a genuine light. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and the word that you said that kind of stuck out at me, and thanks, Samir, for those words. I mean, the feeling's mutual. I'm working with you. We had a good relationship. I hope that continues for many, many years too. So, but gratitude, gratitude, I work on that a lot, because you know how hard that is too. I do want to say one other thing too is, this was another thing where, it's more than coincidence, all of our paths crossing here with the different things we're doing in Toledo, because when we talked about the folks you listen to, the folks you listen to, and reading all the same books, going back to the Napoleon Hill stuff and all this sort of stuff, these are things, and it's where you build community, where years ago, growing up in different circles, as you're finding folks that kind of insulate and help you grow in those beliefs, not everybody believes that stuff. And sometimes they can be real cynical and critical about it. It makes you have to test how you believe in it, or they're like, oh, this is quack stuff, which it's really not, because all of us have seen in our lives how that really positive reinforcement in the face of difficulty and uncertainty and anxiety, all this sort of stuff, will work as long as you continue to apply the effort, but the gratitude one is huge, that even in spite of whatever else is going on in your day, even I try to do it and during the reps, like, this sucks, but I'm grateful that I'm doing it.
You're able to.
You have your health, that you're not injured, you could find, so one of the books I read, self-help, it just, like I said, it was through that period of time where, I had some setbacks I had to reevaluate, is when I started digging into self-help. And I don't care who it is. There's a million gurus out there. You can find who it is. Find what you like. Read a bunch. Find the ones you like. Some of them are not going to totally align with you, but the bottom line is, once you go down that path, it's a rabbit hole that's going to literally change your life, and it did for me. And then I took it, and I'm like, well, I'm 40 and I'm just now learning about this stuff.
Yeah, right.
So wait a minute, my son is not even a teenager yet, and I could teach him about this stuff. So now I start teaching this kid about this stuff. He starts living it at this young age, and now he's seeing these manifestations coming, and all these things that we talked about are now, he's starting to, it's just, and then you think, dang, where could this thing go? How far could he take it? Now, I didn't learn about it until I was a certain age, and I'm doing great for myself, thank God, but it's finding that, and it's it really is self-help. I mean, it sounds corny, it's a cliche or whatever, but you get into that, and you start finding these authors, and you start finding it's the same principles that they're all talking about, more or less, pretty much, and you go down that rabbit hole, and you start reading and watching videos and going down that line, and it really does change your life. I mean, and all I can say is for parents with kids, if you're able to teach your kid that stuff that you didn't know at a young age, that you found out later in life, man, you're giving them a cheat code.
Well, and I think you talk about self-help, it's self-development. Yeah. And we shouldn't shy away from that, because we're continuing to develop. We're never there. I don't care how successful you are, your bank account, your portfolio, real estate, sports, achievements, any of that, your title, it doesn't matter. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not trying to continue to improve and evaluate yourself and where you're at and your standards and all that, it's all about self-development and the path of all of our journeys. And that's why I love hearing people's story, because everyone has a story, and no one's story, it's all relative. Right? You know what I mean? Someone's struggling right there for this reason, another person for this reason. And it could be a billionaire that right now is not satisfied because, and we could look at them man, they just got off their yacht. They got all this money. How are they depressed? No, it hits everyone. And I think the self-development is key, is to continue to work on that no matter where you're at. You bring up a great point. I think us as parents, we can't voice that enough, to be and set the right example for our kids. And it's tough, man, because we have busy schedules. So you get home, your kids want to do something, they got activities, they got schoolwork. You know what I mean? Just talk about maybe the example we have to set for the young ones in the community, but also in our own household.
Yeah, and that can be sometimes, in my world, some of the most difficult, because as you know, we all have kids, and my kids are 17 months apart, and you're working on a business. You're trying to set the right example, keep positive attitude on these different things. But they're all different levels of perspective and consciousness, right? So my kids are at one level, and you just assume sometimes that they could be mature at a different level, or have the same level of understanding you do, appreciating situations or not, and that can a lot of times drain a lot of energy out of you, as you try to.
How do you when you get home from a busy day and you get home, how do you kind of turn it off, or how are you patient? How are you grateful in the midst of adversity? Just kind of talk about, if you have anything. Same thing with you, Samir. Is there any steps you take, or your awareness of, all right, my business, I owe 30 grand next week. I don't know where those funds are going to come from. I know that happened to me at the restaurants. I have the health department at our door at Gradkowski's, our restaurant, going to close our down because we're $20,000 behind in tax. Figured this out, but in the meantime, Lily was 2 years old. Roman was 6 months old or something. I have both of them. I have a day off. I'm playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have a day off. I'm taking them to the Cheesecake Factory in the South Side in Pittsburgh, and I'm literally unpacking our car, and I get this call, and I'm like, my stomach drops. And I'm like, how the hell do I get him 20 grand right now? What? And you're just like, what? Just like that? Yeah. And so what do? I wire the money, I get it fixed. But what I've learned over time in business is like you brought up earlier, consistency, right? Today might feel like a shit show. Everything's getting thrown at you. You're dodging bricks left and right, and you just got to figure it out. But you get through that day, you get through that week, it slows down, it calms down. Now the roller coaster, now it smooths out a little bit. Just, is there anything you go through that you're able to help yourself zero in, okay, I'm having a bad day, but I'm about to see my kids, I got to refocus in. Anything that helps you?
Movement, right? Motion. Just don't get caught in that rut of thinking about it, because that always happens, right? Where something like that happens, your stomach drops. It happens monthly, right? Because life is full of unexpected, variables, and so you just try to get back to movement. Like I think you said it was Tony Robbins who said that. It's just get in motion, get more control things, little things. So yesterday, and I'm getting better at this too, because it's not something I was, really understanding of. But so my son had football practice yesterday. It's a basic thing. An inside arm goes up, and he couldn't get it all during the practice. And you're watching, and I see him getting frustrated, right? And so he's getting frustrated. And so we get home. I'm exhausted, right? Because I had a long day and go to practice under the sun and everything else. And I'm like, I just want to sit down and not do anything, But I could see he was kind of frustrated. And I was like, we could just pack it. I was like, all right, let's get up and move and try to do this in my living room. I'm teaching him the inside arm goes up, whatever, all that sort of stuff, and running through it. I think that gets back to just motion, movement. Find something on different times where there are mountains to climb on work, and there are always going to be mountains to climb where you don't have the answers and you don't know how to get there. You know what I do? There's always laundry to be done or clothes to be folded or something like that. That's one that helps me get my mind off. Laundry,
The mundane,
something,
tasks,
just life. And music.
Yeah.
I got a new song. Well, it's not new because you guys know I listen to 80s music like exclusively. But Huey Lewis and the News, I'm a fan. So Huey Lewis and the News has this song, Jacob's Ladder. And it's about everything we're talking about right now. It's step by step, one rung at a time. And one of the lyrics, what you said before, is, I just want to be better tomorrow than I was today. That's like the goal.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff, I don't know how you get comfortable with the idea you can't control it. All of it, you just have to, and find peace in that, I guess.
Well, I think my kids are the oldest, right? I got a sophomore and a seventh grader. It's tougher when they're younger. Obviously, like they're just in their world. They're in their own reality, in their own world, and then you come in and you're in your world, and you've had this, you've had a bad day, or you've had like something that makes your stomach drop, a bill that's due that you don't know where you're going to come from and stuff like that. And and again, this took me time. And again, like this is me speaking at, 45 is different than, where I was at 35, definitely at 25. But 35, I had young kids. But I didn't understand that I had to leave my reality, my world, and kind of immerse myself into their world for that hour, 2 hours before bed, whatever it is. And just really forget about my problems for that time. Just let it go, man. Just like, what the hell? It's going to still be there in the morning either way. Like, I could sit here and lose sleep over it and be a jerk to my wife and not have no time for my kids. And that it turn into a cycle, a snowball. But sometimes now, it'll just be like, just going out there and just, being a catcher for my daughter while she's pitching, or even just wrestling around with my son, or it could be, playing him in some, video games or anything. Just jump into his world, jump into her world, whatever she's working on. Like, she went through like a slime phase where she was making slime. Okay, well, let's sit there. I don't like it. I hate it. The sound of it just drives me nuts. But like, okay, let me throw my hands in some slime with her. Just like anything to immerse yourself in their world. And just let them know you're there, and sneak in the, motivational self-talk and stuff, like, kind of like just be a, go with the, soft sell instead of like, hey, all right, I want you to read Tony Robbins. It's going to change your life. A little kid like, who's Tony Robbins? Why is his jaw so big? You know what I mean? But like, no, just like take those things that we've learned and just, just drop them in there, drop them in there. And it got to the point around that same time where I was going through this, I don't know, midlife crisis or nothing, but like just this journey of like self-discovery and self-development and all this other stuff, that literally my daughter was, I can't remember exactly what age she was at the time, but she literally, like, at one point looked at me and she said, "Are you going to school or something?" I said, "No." She said, "You just seem so much smarter." And she was like, we just talked about kids.
Yeah.
They just blurt out honesty and like whatever they feel. She said, "You feel like, I feel like you got smarter."
That is
she
cool.
said that to me, and I was just like, all right, well, something I'm doing is working.
No, that's pretty sweet, and I love the point about that. Immerse yourself into your child's world, because we're living in different worlds and we have different problems.
That's a good point. And you assume they're there at that perspective, but they're not. They can't grasp.
They don't know.
Because we didn't at that age, but you forget it.
They don't know. I mean, I think this is all good. I just want to end with this: is if you guys could think of one thing, like if you were, what is one thing you want your kids to know, or you want to leave them with, or what's most important? If anything in life, like for me, Roman, Lily, Lincoln, anything in life, be respectful. Just be respectful and be a good person. You know what I mean? Like, give back, help others. Like, it's not all about what you have going on, because I've been at times when it was all about what I have going on. And that's a constant struggle too, to immerse yourself in others' worlds, your kids' world, your wife's world, and all that. But what's something you would like to leave, kind of a message for your kids today, or even just kids out there?
I guess since I've got the mic, I'll go first. But I think there's all sorts of, and it gets back to, I always have these existential wonderings and everything else in my mind. But there's a quote, I'm going to butcher it, by Albert Einstein, that people generally break down into two categories. And the two categories are, the one folks that look at the universe, and there's a lot of bad stuff that can happen on a day-to-day basis. We've seen it to people we know, and you see it in the society, and it can be broadcast continually. There's a lot of bad out there. But do you fundamentally, inside of you, at some place, some faith, whatever hope or whatever, fundamentally believe that the universe is a good place? And as long as you can keep that, in spite of whatever else, even some of the wrongdoings you might do, or we might do ourselves, if we can just keep that, I call it a glow a little bit, of just the universe is a good place, and there is good there, and that's what I want them to carry through their lives, I guess.
I love that.
For me, this is a little bit more of like a culture and religion type of thing, but it relates a lot to what we're talking about. So the saying in Arabic is Alhamdulillah. Okay, Alhamdulillah means it's a term of gratitude. So, and you say it literally for everything. So I'm always reminding my kids of this. So if there's one word or something, and I'll give you an example of like the context. So like, I broke my leg. I'm in the hospital. Alhamdulillah. It could be worse. I don't need surgery. So finding that positive in any situation. The good and the bad. I just bought the car I wanted. Alhamdulillah. Like, thank God. Thank God for having, thank God, and I'm so so much gratitude that I'm able to purchase something or do something. And then on the flip side, your bank account's at zero. Thank Alhamdulillah. Okay, I have my health. I have my wife. I have my family. I can make more money. If I can't replace this child that I have that's in my care for the rest of their life. So like, just finding, and you can look around, we can walk from here to our cars and think about 10 things that you could say Alhamdulillah for. And they'd be bad or good. So that's the thing that I always try, and I remind them all the time. It's whenever they complain, and kids complain, and it's just a part of growing up, and then we just say Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. I just say it, like, doesn't matter. And and again, not to get political or anything like that, but if you kind of look at what's going on in the world, and you see in the Middle East what's happening right now, and you see like these people who are getting their houses bombed and things like that, and they're in the street, and they lost their house and they lost everything else. And what are they saying? They're saying Alhamdulillah. They're saying it's okay. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I can build another house. I can do something. And it's like, man, what kind of strength? Like, we're over here in these pampered lives we live, and these pampered, subdivisions and everything else, and we're living like that, and we're mad because the guy got our coffee wrong at the place. Like, we're mad about it. Like, dude, like, you got coffee, you got electricity. We have, we have sunlight. Like, there's so many things that you
Yeah.
could be happy for. And I do it all the time too. Well, I'm not like this preacher who, no. I do the same thing. I have to remind myself. And I tell my wife, when you hear me start complaining, remind me. Just like I remind the kids. Like, so it just becomes this family circle of gratitude that we just keep throwing around, and we just all remind each other. And that's what I want them to live, because if they live that life, they'll always find a reason to be happy. Just
Absolutely.
instead of finding reasons to be upset. So,
That's so good. Well, I appreciate you boys.
sir.
Good workout today.
Good workout, guys.
Good stuff.
Thanks, guys. See you Friday?
What's up, my man? Yeah, for sure. Good work. Good stuff, brother.
Hey, I'm Bruce Gradkowski, founder of the Alpha 5 Method. It's a 5-step framework that will help you achieve any goal you want, but also more importantly, just live a more fulfilling life. You can find the Alpha 5 Method online, social media. Check out our website, thealpha5method.com, and join our newsletter today. Look for the Alpha 5 Method podcast wherever you stream your podcast.